Technotronic, and it was a move this.
Yeah, move this. You gotta move.
Yeah.
And again, the actor playing Simon Kane knew exactly what movie he was in because he fucking went for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He fucking swung for the fences. He was like doing the fucking voguing, and he was voguing and fucking. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
And then they just fight. He thinks he's won. He tells them to shoot him.
Yes.
And they do pretty quickly.
They do, yeah.
Like, they question a bit, like, boss, are
you sure?
And they're like,
shoot me! Like, all right.
Okay.
All right.
And then they riddle him with bullets,
Yeah.
like you heard at the top of the show. And then he's like, I am a god.
Yeah.
I want to speak to all the world leaders. Like, because he wants to be king of the planet now.
Well, I mean, I would. It makes sense.
Because at this point, he's, like, knocked Jeff out of the frame.
He threw him, which
Yeah,
I'm like, did you really think that was going to kill him?
And then he comes back in uniform.
That's where he was going. He was putting on his costume.
Was this? No, this was after. Simon picked up a garbage thing.
Yes.
Because the dog was saying, Jeff, get up. And he heard the dog say, Jeff, get up. And he threw the garbage can and basically not killed the dog, but
cracked
mortally
his ribs.
Wounded him.
Yeah.
So Meteor Man comes in, beats everybody.
Yeah.
Like, pretty handily.
Yeah, he's Meteor Man now proper.
Yeah. Does the whole super speed thing where he's punching 3 guys at the same time. Like Simon, I think Goldilocks and Uzi or Pirate. We get the checkoff from the callback for Tiny Lister where he breaks an arm, breaks his other, because he breaks out of the cast.
Yeah, he breaks the cast off and then just
immediately breaks his arm again.
Well, he looks at him. He's bowing up and then he looks at him and goes, I think I know what's going to happen, but fuck it, I gotta try it. And then he does. He throws the one punch and breaks his one arm, then he throws another punch, breaks his other arm, and then he kicks him with the leg and breaks the leg, and he's just like, now he's literally a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest and just falls down. It's like, fuck it, I'm out.
No, he's not out. He goes to bite him.
Right,
and then he breaks his teeth.
Right, yeah. Fucking Jesus.
So he ties him up, he grabs him.
This was a movie.
He grabs Simon Kane, he absorbs his powers, and now he's useless.
Yeah.
We think it's over, because Simon and the Lords, they all run, they do the point, we'll get you, Meteor Man, we'll get you next time. And then, I think it's over.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, the day is saved. Mr. Byers and his entire Legion of Doom show up.
Dun, dun, dun.
And, like, the most ridiculous cars. Like, everyone's got a very different, very most expensive car.
Well, this motherfucker is the Riddler. He's going to make sure everyone coordinates their shit.
They all show up with their guns. It's like men, women, fucking sheiks. Like, it's just different clothing, different types of bad guy and bad girl. And they're like, well, we've got you outgunned. He's like, oh, really? And then fucking Bloods in the Crypt show up.
and bring out all of the guns.
And then, because he just said, what did he, no, you give up. He's like, what? What? Like, he's just like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Frank Gorshin decides to ham it up like a motherfucker.
Like, do you not see the amount of firepower I have? Like, I'm about to put you and your entire, like, crew on a permanent vacation. Like, he's going to shoot up the whole neighborhood. Then the gang shows up, and he's like, I need a vacation. And they're about to take off. The cops show up. They arrest everybody. On what grounds? I don't know. Being international terrorists.
Evil.
I don't know what jurisdiction the Washington, D.C. Police Department has on international bad guys.
I'm sure they can find something. You just call up the FBI. My only complaint is that Frank Gorshin, at no point did he do the Riddler laugh.
Yeah, no.
I just needed that once.
He's in like 3 scenes in this entire film.
Yep.
And he's technically in a scene where like Simon Kane's having an obvious one-way phone call.
Clearly.
So yeah. That's the Meteor Man.
Yes.
As ridiculous as it is.
Yeah.
This movie's significant for a couple reasons. Well, I was doing my own sort of research.
Yes.
It's not officially the first black superhero.
No.
Because there was a movie called, I think, A Bar, the first black Superman, from like the 70s.
Yeah,
that's like technically a superhero film.
Is it though? I mean, it's more of a parody.
But
this is kind of too.
But this was, I guess, the first proper superhero, like cape and like caped superhero. So, because you got to think, as someone like Robert Townsend who grew up being a superhero fan, and he didn't really see himself in any of these characters.
Well, I mean, there were black superheroes. Like, don't get it twisted. They did exist.
But nothing on screen.
No,
right?
no.
So he
made his own.
Credit goes to him. I think Damon Wayans did the exact same thing the very next year with Blank Man in 1994.
Yeah.
So good on him for, like, seeing, like, okay, I get that there's black superheroes, but they're not, I don't see them on my TV or the movies, so...
Yeah.
Because you got to think, at this point, we've seen Batman, we've seen Superman, we've seen all these superheroes, but no black superheroes, so... Credit goes to him for going, okay, well, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, because I'll
create one. If you don't want to, if Marvel and DC doesn't want to put their own out, I'll just create one, and that will be...
I want me on screen, and I'm going to do that.
You know, and he had the all-black cast, and he did the whole thing, because he wanted him, and, you know, people like him to have a role model, like young black kids to look up to the Meteor Man, and I hope he did that.
Yeah, I hope it worked.
Because I personally obviously can't speak to that, but I hope it worked. Now, as ridiculous as this movie is, I'm going to give it a big score because, again, I have a relationship with this movie to the point, like, because I've been watching this movie since I was 8. Like, I don't know how I found it. I can't tell you. I watched it once and I instantly fell in love with its ridiculousness.
What year would that have been?
I was born in 88, so...
Okay. So 8 would make it 96? Yeah, it would have been.
I had a VHS.
Would have been on TV as well.
Yeah,
So
because I had this on VHS and I later bought it on DVD. I can't buy it on Blu-ray because it's out of print and I don't want to spend $90 on that.
Right.
So I've been a fan of this movie, you know, basically my whole life. So I think it's a lot like Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
I'm well aware that technically speaking, this is not a well-done film or a great film.
Dude, in 2 months, we're going to talk about my favorite movie, and everyone and their brother can rip on it, so it's fine.
So, but it was good to me. It's getting an 8. Meteor Man! Out of 10. And my MVP are just the Lords. Yeah. In general, I didn't want to single out, because it's just ridiculous. The look, the slinky, the fact that they have babies and junior division gang members. And I like how at the very end of the film, everyone ran except for the baby lords. They were still like, no, let's just go. Let's go. And then, like, he, like, got them out of, like, he tied them together and it was comedic.
Yeah, it was weird. He like, took their pants and their jackets and tied them all together.
Tied them together and put them on timeout.
Yeah, it was weird.
So, yeah.
But, yeah, okay, so... Here's me.
I want to hear you, because this is literally the first time you've ever even seen this film.
It is.
Like, forget start to finish, like, kind of ever.
Because when this movie came out, and I do remember the trailer, seeing it ridiculous amounts. I was 11 when it came out. I, at this point, was already watching horror movies on a regular basis.
So you had no time.
So I had no time for this shit. I do believe if I was 7 or 8, I would have loved this movie. So... Unfortunately, though, I'm not 7 or 8, and I'm still me, so I'm actually going to give it a 5. It was not unenjoyable. It did have its moments. It did have things that made me laugh or whatever, but I can honestly tell you, there is no way in hell I will ever watch this movie again. So
which is fine.
I'm going to give it 5 blonde-headed gang members out of 10.
Baby lords.
Yeah. Just because of the blonde hair. And my MVP is actually John Witherspoon. Just because, even though he was on screen for 1 minute, I laughed so fucking hard because he was so good. So I'm giving it to John Witherspoon for a second time.
Like back to back?
Yeah, because he was so fucking fantastic.
So that concludes Black History Month. So here we go. We are going to go. I'm just putting it out there, like just full notice.
Yes.
For the next 3 months, March, April, and May.
Yeah.
We are going to go on a journey.
Yes.
It's not going to be the exact same movie. It's not like we're going like every whatever movie.
No, we because we decided when we did the Rocky thing.
Although we are going to do an entire series.
We are going to do... I'll get there.
Yeah.
Just sit back. This is mine. We're going to... It really is. It really very much is. So we did the Rocky series for a month, and that was just too much. Doing one film series for an entire stretch of time is ridiculous. We kind of figured that. We just kind of figured it wasn't quite working. So what we're going to do, because basically ever since we started this podcast, I've wanted to do one thing and one thing only, and that is talk about the entire Nightmare on Elm Street film series. It is my favorite film series. It is my favorite thing on the planet. So I will... don't worry, I know the date. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So it's I want to talk about it, but to do literally 7 films back to back is too much. And no, I'm not including Freddy vs. Jason because that was in 2003, so there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
And I will never talk about the remake, so don't even start with that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we decided to do, we went back and forth of what we were going to do, because we decided we're going to keep our 80s and 90s thing going.
Mm-hmm.
Since most of the movies take place in the 80s, we're going to do separate movies for the 90s. And then when the Nightmare films hit the 90s, we're going to do a couple 80s flicks. And we didn't know what to do. We went back and forth, back and forth. So what we're going to do, just because, basically it's a gift to me. For the next 3 months, we're going to do the entirety of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And on the off weeks, we're going to do the films of Wes Craven.
Like the collective work.
The collective
Almost
works.
the collective work.
Almost. There are some films we can't do.
As far as 90s and 80s.
Yes.
And even there will be a 70s as well.
Certainly. And we're not doing TV movies, because he did surprisingly direct a lot of TV movies. Yeah. We're not covering any of those. But we are going to cover a significant portion of his film works, because the man was a great director, and he really should have this spotlight on him. And frankly, not to toot my own horn, but who better to do it than me? So there will be a lot of info about Mr. Craven going forward. I found some interesting shit that even I didn't know recently that is hilarious and awesome. So I'll get to that as the weeks go on. But starting literally next week, this is my fucking Christmas. We are going to be covering A Nightmare on Elm Street. We are going back to November 9th, 1984. I am so excited, you have no idea.
And next week we will explain how it's going to work, how we're going to break it up, because like I said, we're not, like Steve said, we're not doing 7 in a row.
No.
We're going to break it up, but we'll basically give you the lowdown, because again, like I said, when I say journey, I mean journey. We are talking March, April, and May. The entirety of those months are going to be dedicated to both Nightmare on Elm Street and almost the collective works as far as maybe 70s, 80s, and 90s of Wes Craven.
Yes.
So like I said, next week we'll explain that.
Yes.
So we're gonna get out of here.
First, let me warn you.
The episode links.
Okay. Specifically for A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original film, there are books on the making of this movie. Not just a documentary. There are books on it, and I have read them all. Next week will be a long episode. There's no way around it. I have done way too much research on this film series, so there is a lot of shit I can get through. So just keep that in mind. When you're going to listen to it, you might want to break it up. It may
pack a lunch.
Yeah, pack a lunch. It's going to be a long episode. Just bear with us. It'll be entertaining, I bloody well hope. If you like a lot of info on a film, I'm going to be just vomiting information on this movie, because I know way too much.
All right.
So, that being said, there you go.
We begin the journey next week. But for this week, you were Steve.
You were Justin.
And we're way back and gone.
See you, crack boy.